As Malaysians continue to register remarkable achievements in the bowling alleys, the sport has finally succeeded in shredding its tag as a parlour sport. Bowling first arrived in Malaysia in the early 1960s with the opening of the International Bowl in Penang. By 1965, 2 additional centres in Selangor and 1 in Perak had been built. The sport evolved rapidly throughout that decade, leading to an organised structure within the country. In the early 1970s, Malaysia established itself as a regional bowling power, but the Malaysian Tenpin Bowling Congress, the MTBC, lacked the directions as the presidency changed hands from Raja Kamaruddin Udar, Murad Hashim and Benny Yeo. In 1974, the MTBC was revived with Datuk Dr. P.S. Nathan as the president, a position he has held until today.
In Malaysia, it hasn't been a memorable thing, as it were. It's been exciting. I founded the Malaysian Tenpin Bowling Congress way back in 1974. Became its president, and I'm still the president 34 or 35 years down the road. And then I became the president of the World Tenpin in 1987, as I told you. That was a memorable moment. And then I was re-elected 3 times. So I was the president for 12 years. And that was very exciting, very fulfilling, and very challenging, because there was so much to do, so much of fundraising to do, and the biggest hurdle was to try and get into the Olympics.
As a player, his fulfilling moments were winning the national finals 3 times in a row in 1975 to 1977. His wife, Datin S. Malathi, won the ladies' event that same 3 years, thus creating a record of sorts. The singles goal at the Siap game in 1975, the first goal for Malaysia in bowling in the SEA Games, and then the Asian Games team goal in 1978, again the first goal for Malaysia in the Asian Games in bowling, were moments to cherish for Dr. Nathan.
Yeah, as a player, without doubt, my most memorable event time would have been when I won the SEA Games singles gold medal for Malaysia way back in '75. I know it was quite exciting. It was first bowling medal for Malaysia, and it was a neck and neck fight between myself and the Singapore champion. This was in Bangkok. Of course, that'll always be the highlight. Even though I won a gold medal at the Asian Games, this would always be the most memorable occasion for me. Again, that eventually turned out to be a record, a Southeast Asian Games record, which stood for some 15-20 years. 18 years.
The singles goal was a record that stood for more than 20 years. As an official, Dr. Nathan was the president of the Asian Bowling Federation from 1984 to 1987. Then, from 1987 to 2003, Dr. Nathan was the president of the WTBA for 3 terms of 4 years each. As the first Malaysian and the first Asian to be the president of a world governing body of a sport, it was very challenging for Dr. Nathan.
Well, when I became president of the World Tenpin Bowling Association in 1987, that was my main objective and thrust. I put together various committees to try and get bowling into the Olympics, and that's when I realized how difficult it is.
Malaysia continued to grow by leaps and bounds and took a quantum leap to a series of high-profile wins at the international arenas, with the most prominent ones being the three-man team goal and a bronze medal in the Masters of the 1979 FIQ World Championships in Manila. The trios were Alan Hui, Edward Lim and Koo Bo Jin. The latter also landed a bronze in the Masters.
When we went to Manila in 1979, our expectations were not high. You know, all we can do was to give our best, and it proves that our best is good enough for us to win the gold medal. I'm really happy that we actually won the first gold medal for Malaysia in Tenpin Bowling.
For that, bowling was named 1979 Sports Team of the Year, while Koo Bo Jin and Shirley Chow, who finished 9th in the same championship, were named the 1979 National Sportsman and Sportswoman of the Year. Michael Chua, Alan Lee, Y.H. Fung, Ringo Wang, Richard Phua, Y.K. Tong, Datin Malathinathan and Pearly Chong were all regular winners at international tournaments who helped put Malaysia in the world's bowling map in the 70s and 80s. The Commonwealth Games in 1998 was another high point for bowling, with Kenny Ang as the ultimate Malaysian athlete. The left-handed bowler bagged 2 gold medals, the first in the doubles with teammate Ben Heng and the second from an individual effort in the singles, propelling him as the best performer of the host contingent. From a man who was not used to winning, Ang's emergence as a regional powerhouse was a fitting tribute to the man and coach who identified him, Sid Allen. More importantly, bowling made a lasting impression in its maiden appearance, giving it a whole new dimension in the eyes of the world. The successful staging of the bowling event during Kuala Lumpur 98 captured the imagination of the fans like never before. What was mainly regarded as a social sport and for big bellies earned its stripes as a sport that requires athletic, mental and physical ability and talent just like any other sport. In terms of class in competitors, there were 7 world champions, 10 continental champions and more than 10 perfect games in the field. The competition was at the highest, keeping the fans at the edge of their seats. Exactly 10 years later, there emerged Shalin Zulkifli. For him, the year 2008 was a year to cherish, having ended the Asian Bowling Federation, the ABF Tour, as the second-ranked bowler in the continent.
The biggest challenge for me, I think, when you're a teenager, at that time, you have to choose your life with your friends, or do you want to focus on the sport? Do you want to focus on your career? So to make that decision, whether to enjoy your youth life with your friends or to be serious, to focus on your sport and to bowl for your country, that to me is a big challenge because you kind of stuck in the middle. But I'm glad that I choose bowling.
Shalin competed in 9 of 18 ABF Tour events, but several outstanding performances earned him 393 ranking points to see him finish behind United Arab Emirates bowler Hussein Al Sawadi with 550 points. The 26-year-old Malaysian started the year with the Malaysian Open in March and followed up with a second-place finish at the World Ranking Masters in July. He also helped Malaysia win the team gold at the Asian Championships in July and finished third in last month's AMF World Cup.
Like one of my favorite tournament gotta be the Malaysia Open. I won it 2 times in a row. To win a tournament in your country, your home ground, it's something special. No? You get involved with the crowd. People know you better. Then I felt like a hero that day because I bring joy to Malaysian. So to win a tournament, the Malaysia Open here in Malaysia at Sunway Pyramid is one of the best experience for me.
Alex Liew was Malaysia's second best finisher in the men's ranking at 8 on 277 points. Zulmazran, together with Alex, Zandra and Shalin, also earned their spot in the 2009's World Ranking Masters. Earlier, both 2009 and 2006 were landmark years for our bowlers. Esther Cheah earned the gold medal and Wendy Chai finished third in the World Cup. Alex Liew earned 5 international titles in 2005, while the youth team captured 4 gold medals at the World Youth Championship in Germany. A contemporary of Dr. Nathan was Holloway Cheah, who is now the chief coach for the national team. Holloway, Dr. Nathan, Alan Hui, Khoo Jin Bin, Hubert Lee and Edward Lim formed the team that went on to win Malaysia's first gold medal in bowling in the Bangkok Games.
Bowling in Malaysia definitely have a bright future. The only unfortunate thing is the bowling is yet to be in the Olympic. We are right now world standard in the bowling sport. We are definitely a world standard. World standard means we are one of the country given a chance, we definitely can win medal, and that proven that we have won many world titles before. And also we have a lot of young talents coming up through the support from the parents, NSC, which is National Sport Council, and the Malaysian Tenpin Bowling Congress come up with a program and support it. The future for Malaysian bowling is definitely bright. And as a bowler, they have a bright future as a bowler, right? Especially right now, that the government is taking care of them. There are scholarships waiting for them if they are good and if they are national bowlers. And also after their playing day, now Malaysian Tenpin Bowling is looking after them by conducting the coaches courses for them so that they can actually turn into coaches just like me.
It was not a breeze though for Holloway, as he had to overcome apprehensions on the part of his employers, who initially refused to allow the bowler to attend trials ahead of the Bangkok ASIAD. Since retiring in 1980, Holloway has trained his sides on identifying talents and nurturing them to perfection, or the perfect game, so to speak.
The most memorable one is when I first time fully take charge of the Malaysian team. And we have a world championship in 2003, which is held here in Sunday, Meghalaya. We were expected to win medal. After day 1 to the second last day, we have yet win any medal. We came close 2 times, but we didn't win medal at all. Until the last day of the event, which is the team event, our ladies raised to the occasion. And at that time, actually, people was all thinking that we are not going to win anything, but the ladies stood up and they fought their way and they leading the field into the last game. And while Finland team is chasing us and also the Sweden team, not the American team, they were chasing us very, very close. But our girls showed that they are very brave, so that they can stand the pressure, and they fought until the last frame to be a world champion.
Though his sons did not follow his footsteps, it was left to Esther to continue her father's legacy in the sport. At a tender age, Esther often tagged along with her dad to his work. They can't bowl in Petaling Jaya. After much coaxing from her dad, she picked up her first ball at 6. Seeing that his daughter had the interest, Holloway bought her a ball, and the rest is history.
Well, Holloway, of course, is the I say the original person that brought her to bowling, because he himself was as a bowler. And the mother also was a bowler, and the parents' influence for her to seriously take up the sports is very obvious. So from very young she started bowling, but when she started competitive bowling in our national program is only when she was about 14, I think. She was about 14. She really shown progress is actually from 2005. 2005 when she represented Malaysia in the World Championship and won the first gold medal in there.
Unlike now, Esther was not a winner then. She often finished second and third in tournaments even when she was in the national youth teams in 2002. Putting extra effort in training and doubling the effort, Esther's sacrifices paid off when she won the 2005 World Championship singles gold medal in Denmark. She knocked down 2 gold and 2 silver medals at the Doha Asian Games a year later. But the most successful kegger who contributed a lot towards bowling scores remains Shalin Zulkifli. After progressing through the youth program, which was initiated by the National Sports Council at Shah Alam in 1988, Shalin became a global phenomenon.
We started from Shah Alam, whereby now husband and wife, Shalin and Azidi, first involved in the bowling activities.
As a 16-year-old, London-born Shalin won the Masters event at the Hiroshima Asian Games, and again as someone who was already established in the business in the 2002 edition in Busan. In 1991, she was named Selangor's most promising sports girl of the year, and in 1994 became the youngest player and the first Malaysian to win the Ladies Open of the Kent Malaysian All-Star. That marked the beginning of a new era.
I was first introduced to bowling when I was 9 by my parents. I was always a sportsman, always active in sports when I was in primary school and secondary school. But I only started bowling seriously as a sport when I was like 10. That's when I started to join the KL youth training and NSC's Bakat program, NSC's under 15 Bakat program inshallah. That's when I started to go into bowling seriously, but I was still at that time still competing in other sports for my school as well.
Today, she is arguably the most successful international woman bowler in history, with a CV that reads 5-time Malaysian national champion, 17 times Malaysian national team member, winners of 30 international titles on 3 continents, World Bowler of the Year at the age of 16, 5 times Malaysian Sportswoman of the Year, and finally, the first bowler to blaze the professional trail. In short, Shalin has helped put Malaysia on the world bowling map.
Well, I was very surprised actually that I was able to win it, because at that time I was the youngest in the juniors and also in the senior team. I was 14, and actually during that time when I won the national championships, I actually had a lot of injuries at that time, because it was just sheer determination. And looking back at it right now, so I'm kind of surprised at myself.
Shalin was born in England. but brought up in Malaysia. She started bowling in 1989 when she would follow her parents to the bowling alley. Her impressive list of achievements also includes being voted Asian Bowler of the Year for 2 consecutive years in 2000 and 2001. Shalin has won gold medals in a host of impressive tournaments including the Commonwealth Games, the ABF Tour, the Doha Asian Games, the SEA Games and the 20th Asian Championships. Her most memorable moments was winning the World Tenpin Masters by defeating the then World Bowler of the Year, Tor Torgerson.
I think there's a few achievements that I'm proud of, which some are related to bowling, some are not. Like one of the things that I'm proud of was like being the flag bearer in the Asian Games in Korea, and also to win the gold medal in the Asian Games in Korea also in the Masters event. And the other things would be like in the 98 Commonwealth Games, being the athlete to be chosen to take the athlete's oath. And I think right now would be to be the first professional bowler in the PBA, and hopefully to be the first to win a title on the PBA tour also.
In May 2008, Shalin became Malaysia's first pro bowler. The Malaysian team, both seniors and juniors, are the envy of most bowling nations. For sure, there had been issues, such as the mutiny led by a number of senior bowlers against the then coach Sid Allen. But in general, bowling and its purveyors are the pride and joy of Malaysia. The sport is well organized with a closely knit family culture prevalent. Success, therefore, does not come as a surprise. This is the story so far.